everyone, and welcome to another Ultimate Fighter episode review. This is for Season 30, Episode 2, titled Time to Eat. And yeah, I don't really have a lot of preamble for this one. Thank you to everyone who watched the Sunset Overdrive stream last night. So let's just get on with the episode review. We begin back at the TUF house, sort of talking more about the aftermath of the first fight of the season, the first episode, which is between Niall from Team Nunes and Zach from Team Pena. And Niall said that he was just a bit disappointed that he lost. He wasn't really super happy about it. And later in the backyard, he's actually talking to Zach about it, and Zach lets him know that there's no hard feelings because Zach actually, during the fight, Niall hit Zach in the rib and actually hurt him pretty bad, so he was trying to rush and get the finish, which is why he was a bit more dominant in the fight. And Niall was just like, yeah, there's no hard feelings, dude. And they seem to be good friends after that, and I like seeing that in my MMA. I really, really do. Even on The Ultimate Fighter. In fact, especially in The Ultimate Fighter, when you've got to share a house with so many people for 6 weeks. It cannot be the easiest thing to do. After that, we have Kaitlyn from Team Nunes and Helen from Team Pena talking about Juliana Pena, who is the coach of Team Pena, fucking obviously. But they're sort of airing out, not necessarily grievances, but talking a little bit about her. Juliana says that... Kaitlyn. I keep getting that wrong because... I've got Juliana written in my notes, and I keep messing it up somehow. I apologise. But Kaitlyn talks about the fact that she was a bit let down she wasn't on Juliana's team, especially considering that in Kaitlyn's last fight before she went to the Ultimate Fighter, Juliana actually did commentary for Kaitlyn's fight, or I think Helen did. I know that Kaitlyn mentions that she and Helen are friends, and a bit later on in the same episode, Helen even mentions that she felt a bit let down that she wasn't picked for either. She wanted to be on Team Nunes, so she was happy with it. Actually, no, she wanted to be on Team Pena anyway, so she was happy with it, because that's the team she's on. But, yeah, also, Kaitlyn was on Team Nunes. I think I fucked that up a little bit, but I'm correcting it now, so no one can get mad at me. But yeah, Helen even says, a bit later in the episode, that she wanted to be on Team Pena anyway, and then Pena basically came in, or Nunes came in, and said, look, I would have had all... 16 of you if I could have, because you're also great. To which Helen replied, fuck her then. And that made me laugh, and it made me realise that Helen is a bit McGregor-esque. She's got a lot of charisma and a lot of personality, and she's just a lot of fun to watch talk. I mean, she had a drink of vodka at this point when she said fuck Nunes in particular, so it was kind of funny to see. Then get the videos and backgrounds. We talk about Kaitlyn first. So Kaitlyn is from Utah initially, but she trains in Vegas outside of Syndicate MMA with John Wood, who is a phenomenal coach. And she talks about her background. She was raised as a Mormon. She feels like the black sheep of the family because of all the girls in the family. She's one of the only ones not married or with children. And she grew up taking up gymnastics and dance and eventually got into MMA a bit later on in life. Especially as a wrestler, she had a pretty good record in Invicta FC. She's probably got the worst record of any of the female fighters in the house though, I think. She's got a 5-4 record. And this is after a turnaround too, because she went 4-1 in her last 5 fights before she came over to the Ultimate Fighter. So I thought that was quite interesting to have brought up. And then we talk about Helen's background too. Then we have Helen's background. She just talked about the fact that she's from the Dominican Republic, and she grew up fighting on the streets a lot of her life. We don't really get to see a lot of her family, but we know that she lives in Iowa, in Fairfield, Iowa specifically, and it is fucking frozen over there right now. And she trains in cold therapy over there. There's a frozen lake, which is in the back of the house that a friend of hers owns, and she goes there to train sometimes. And she goes into the lake for the cold therapy. And it's kind of cool because you don't really see fighters do that a lot, but she actually enjoys it. And as she describes it, it's something that is merciless yet gracious. And yeah, you could see the McGregor. That's something I could picture McGregor saying. But besides that, we don't really go too heavily into Helen's background as compared to Kaitlyn's. But we do have to obviously go into the training and prep. So the training is sort of similar in a way for both of them. Kaitlyn's main training plan is to focus on using her longer reach because she's 5 inches taller than Helen, got a 5 inch reach advantage, and it pans out to 69 inches, which is nice. And I had to do it. I fucking had to do it. Look, the 69th episode of Music of the Week is out on Thursday. It's going to be out on Thursday if I can get it done. I'm giving you a taste of the meme, which you already know. But anyway, Kaitlyn's main training thing is to focus mostly on her point striking. She's using her kickboxing in particular, and using her wrestling as well. She's got really good wrestling, especially her clinch game. And the main plan for Helen is basically the opposite of that. Focus on Helen using her short reach, but amazing power and striking, getting close, counter the clinch and counter the takedown if need be. And it's a pretty solid plan for her. And I remember watching the video packages back, because they do show fights from their career before they get to the Ultimate Fighter, and Helen was fucking blasting people down. Like, has some amazing power for a women's flyweight, not something you see in the women's divisions a lot. We then do sadly get to quite a sad thing before we progress with the actual fight itself, so some point after all the video packages and like the training and prep stuff, Amanda's wife Nina and their daughter Reagan appear, and it's kind of a cute time when they appear in the Team Nunes' like dressing room, and they notice that Kaitlyn is crying and she's sad, and she got a call earlier that day that her father passed away, and my immediate thought went back to 10 years ago, the Ultimate Fighter season 15, the live season of the Ultimate Fighter, when Michael Chiesa, who won his fight to get into the house, lost his father. The moments after he won the fight to get into the house, that was the last fight his father ever got to see him do, and he got the call the next day that his dad had passed away. And Michael went on to storm through the season and won it in the finale. So I'm hoping that Kaitlyn, 10 years later, sort of does the same thing, but we'll have to get to the fight to see if she even gets close to that. Then we get to the fight, and it is quite an interesting one to go through, so I will try and unpack it as best as I can. Kaitlyn and Helen are mostly very, very cautious. Like, Kaitlyn doesn't start using her reach, Helen doesn't really use her closeness to striking. They're both quite hesitant to participate in anything. I think Kaitlyn sort of throws the first shot and goes for a good clinch against the cage, and throughout almost the entirety of round one, this is the sort of story. Kaitlyn goes for a clinch and against Helen, but Helen is landing some amazing dirty boxing, Kaitlyn's landing some good dirty boxing herself. When they separate, Kaitlyn's throwing a good couple of leg kicks, but Helen is mostly closing in with some really good shots. She's landing an overhand right, which, as she says earlier in the episode, is very difficult for anyone to counter. Oh, I just remembered as well why the episode is called Time to Eat. So Juliana whispers in Helen's ear before when the fight's about to start, but she whispers it to her before they leave the dressing room. She says, "Your dinner is in that cage. Time to eat." And that is one of the fucking coldest things and coolest things I've ever heard Juliana Pena, of all people, whisper. But yeah, back to round one of this fight. Pretty back and forth for the most part, but I am giving round one to Helen. Like, it was mostly a one-sided affair. Kaitlyn kept pushing Helen against the cage, kept using her clinch, but Helen was even countering it quite well at some points, and just outlanding Kaitlyn on the feet. When she was able to get close, she made sure to use her reach really well, and she baited in Kaitlyn a lot in round one. Countered with a really good uppercut at some point as well, landed some good body shots, but mostly through leg kicks and some really good wide looping hooks. Kaitlyn wasn't really prepared for them, but she managed to use her defense as well as Helen using her defense too. And yeah, round one, I give to Helen. We then get to round two, and really not as much happens in round two. It is mostly back and forth in terms of a striking affair, but Kaitlyn using her height and reach to push Helen away more often than not. Helen isn't able to get as close as she used to in round one. Kaitlyn even gets a clinch at some point, and in this point is even more dominant in this clinch than she was in round one. Lands some really good shots. I think she lands a really good knee to the stomach as well. Helen, throws a good couple of knees. Even when they're breaking away from the clinch, she has a good moment where she lands some knees to the head. I think that might have been round one. I could be misremembering. Yeah, Kaitlyn is definitely outpointing Helen. She's keeping her from getting close. She lands a really good hook kick to the body at some point. Lands some really good hands of her own. Lands some really good kicks. Lands a really good head kick too. And is not pushing forward as much, and eventually she even gets a takedown near the end of round two. Helen is not completely helpless either. She's getting in when she can, but because of her being at the height disadvantage, she's not really able to get in as much as she wants to. And round two, again, well, not a lot happens in it. I do give it to Kaitlyn. I think she managed to use her reach quite well, quite effectively. The takedown she got at the end of round two definitely helped. And yeah, her striking was just a little bit better, a bit more improved, and she managed to keep herself back away quite well. Having said that, while I also did give a 1 round to Helen and 1 round to Kaitlyn, the judges did too, so we got a third round in only the second episode of the season. Kind of interesting that. So we go to it, and again, not much happens, both quite cautious, both not really throwing a lot. Helen trying to use her head movement to avoid Kaitlyn's much longer strikes. Blocking the jab really well is Helen. Kaitlyn goes for a good couple of shots, lands a good head kick at some point. Helen manages to close the distance and eventually start landing strikes, but then Kaitlyn starts striking back. She's baiting Helen a lot better in round 3. She's landing a really good 1-2 combo at points. She's landing a really good hook combo. She lands a good kick to the body. She's countering good shots to the body. She gets a good clinch against the cage. Probably the best clinch war she has in this entire fight. She goes into the takedown near the end of round 3, but Helen is able to counter it and slip out the way. And it is quite back and forth, but it does take a while to get there. Helen is landing some really good shots. She even wobbles Kaitlyn severely with a really good overhand right that catches Kaitlyn right in the temple. But Kaitlyn manages to recover quite well, and yeah, just again outstrikes and outlands Helen from a much better distance, and starts throwing her combos a little bit better in round 3, which I do think is what helped her win round 3. So I give round 3 to Kaitlyn, and Kaitlyn would actually win by split decision. So now we have to talk about that. I'll admit it wasn't the most exciting 3-round fight in Ultimate Fighter history, but I've got no complaints about the winner. I do think all 3 rounds were quite close. I think Helen did enough to maybe win round 3, and most of Team Pena thought that she got robbed on round 3. They thought Kaitlyn won round 2, but they thought Helen won rounds 1 and 3. And I can sort of see that, but I think Kaitlyn was just a little bit better. But then we get the next fight, and because Team Nunes' teammate won, she got to pick the fight, and it is Muhammad Usman from Team Pena versus Mitchell Sipe from Team Nunes. And as they're like talking shit to each other, it's mostly just Mitchell talking shit. Muhammad points out, you like to talk a lot, and Mitchell just goes in a resigned manner, yeah I do, and that made me laugh. I did enjoy that, but still, yeah, that'll about do it for this Ultimate Fighter episode. I did enjoy the fight, no complaints about the winner. I think I liked it more than last week's fight, but it was not a super strong 3-round fight. Quite back and forth in a lot of places, but there was a lot of dips in action where not a lot of stuff really happened. And I do think both fighters needed to stay busier, and neither of them were really capitalising on the opportunities that they got. But on the rare instances that they did, they were able to pull it off quite well. I just wanted them to do that a little bit more. That'll about do it for this episode review. I'll see you tomorrow for Ultimate Fighter Season 30, Episode 3. And then tomorrow... No, not tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, Wednesday, for hopefully Episode 4, if I'm able to find that anywhere to watch. And then Thursday for Music of the Week. Reminder, I'm not streaming PBW vs AVW tomorrow night because we just came up with pay-per-view on Friday. So thank you to everyone who watched Deck with the Brawls as well. It's probably the first version of it I've ever had. Probably because it's not called resolutions per minute anymore. But yeah, I'll see you all on Thursday for Music of the Week. Friday night for more Sunset Overdrive streaming / Let's Playing. So, going to be quite busy, as it turns out. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.